All right. So, Benjamin, did you enjoy reading Alita?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's like you know loved it, but I did enjoy from what I've read.
Yeah, I think so. This is not my first time reading it, and it took me about this time. It took me about 6 volumes to fully get back into it, and uh, to understand what it's about. I forgot to ask you before we started, but have you seen any of the adaptations?
Mm, no, I've seen the trailers, but that's about it.
Basically, there's an OVA series which covers uh, the first the arc with Yugo basically and Metaku. Oh, and the movie, the Hollywood movie, um, also covers the yeah, basically the arc with Yugo, which is Alita's first boyfriend. Sorry. Um, I'm not really good at explaining what the story is about, but basically it's a cyberpunk manga. Would you agree with that?
Well, I mean, yeah, it's sort of dystopian. Then again, cyberpunk and dystopian have a huge overlap. I guess the best way to describe it is it's sort of a battle shonen manga, though instead of like superpowered humans, it's just robots.
Yeah, I think very correct in saying that it's basically a shonen manga. It basically follows that formula. Um, I think it was originally published in seinen manga magazine, um, but um, yeah, but that's basically what it follows. The first time I read the manga, I was a lot more interested in the world building, to the point where I was kind of disappointed when eventually Alita moves out of the scrapyard, um, which is what happens after the first series, the original one, Battle Angel Alita, um, ends. And but when you look at it from like a shonen manga kind of perspective, it makes sense because it's all about finding the next opponent, the next fight. It's basically just um, one fight after the other, a series of fights. Um, but it's concentrated a lot on just one character, whereas these days, well, not just these days, but a lot of the time, with shonen manga, like you get an ensemble kind of deal, like it's a bunch of friends fighting together. um, Whereas here it's just Alita. Funnily enough, I think the original title in Japanese was actually Gunm. That's Gunm. It didn't have and it didn't have Alita's name in it. And also, but I think they made a good change for the, I guess, for the English market, to change it to Battle Angel Alita, because um, I I don't know about because it's all about Alita, and I guess the angel part in it is um, because she's a Bishojo character, sort of, I guess. Um, uh, do you want to explain what the Scrapyard and Zalem are, Albanian?
Hmm. From what I remember, so the scrapyard is where the how robots that are basically destroyed kind of end up in the scrapyard. And so the manga starts with the I forgot what the doctor's name, but let's just call him let's just call him Doctor Dad with glasses. Finds Alita and just props him up with these devices. And originally he was going to make her as a companion, but as it turns out, Alita can basically fight. So he ends up instead just using other materials to make her, more combat heavy.
Oh, looks like Fox joined us.
Oh, hey, Fox.
Hey, lad. I can't hear any. No.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
Mm.
I'll post the recording
That's
until they
unfortunate. Wait a second. Sorry, I'm late, but lots of shit came up.
No, it's fine. Did you get a
That's
chance to
fine.
read any of Alita?
I have read over the course of my several years, I've read basically everything that was published about Alita because she's famously my first freaking waifu since the time when I think it was in 97 or 98. I saw one of the volumes for sale in paper's shop in Italy, basically, when I was literally a kid. And I said, wow, I didn't know. I didn't know Japanese things could be cool, you know. I was perhaps 10 years old if I understand this. And so, yes, I will say that it impacted a lot of my tastes, in particular in regard of science fiction, in regard of aesthetics, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, you could say I'm a big Alita fan.
Have you caught up like to the because the series is still ongoing, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, finally wrapped up second part, which was Alita Last Order, which I've read entirely, which is basically a very long tournament arc of cybernetic martial arts on a city on top of another, on an orbital city on top of another space elevator, even higher than our care. How was that called?
Zalem or the other one on
Yes,
top?
Zalem, thank you. There's like it was translated in like three or four, five ways, depending on the edition of the original comics. So I don't remember exactly. One time it was called Tifares for to link it to the Kabbalah, which makes more sense now because there is a city even higher than that, and one could make a parallel with the Tree of Life in the Kabbalah and so on and so forth. If one was to be into Jewish fan fiction, of course, but this is
I
this is
think
up there.
I think in the first series it's called so the lowest city is called Zalem, and the one on top is called Jeru, as in Jerusalem. But maybe they changed
Yeah,
it.
makes perfect sense in this way too. I remember at least one edition. I don't remember which it was. I think it was one of the Italian ones in which the city on the base was Tifares, from Tifaret, the Sephiroth in the Bavavot in the middle of the Tree of Life, and the one on top was Keteret because it's the crown, it's the top of the Tree of Life. That too makes sense if you want, but
When so since you read it in Italy, like did they change the name of the manga from Gun to Battle Angel Alita or something else in Italy as well, or was it?
In Italy, as far as I know, they started calling it Alita because they decided to call the main character Alita, basically, and so on and so forth, and just remained as it just remained like that. Battle Angel Alita as the original. At least that's the edition I was familiar with, and one a volume of which I saw in I think '98, but I don't remember exactly, as you can imagine.
Yeah, I think so. We kind of get very short glimpses into it in the original series
Hmm.
uh, about because Alita is basically like an amnesiac character, which I don't know. Some
Yeah.
people hate that trope for some reason. I didn't mind it that much.
Uh,
Um,
Here's what I'll say about tropes in a nutshell.
Mhm.
Tropes in them themselves are not particularly bad. It's just how it's executed. And personally, I don't really see a problem with Alita being amnesiac. I mean,
Mhm.
considering that from the start she basically was particularly, you know, destroyed. And I forgot the doctor's name, but he brought
Ego.
Guido, basically
Yeah.
brought, I guess,
I,
I don't know if the word is brought back to life appropriate, but let's do with that. Brought her
I
back
think
to life.
yeah, that will fuck your memory up. I think we all can all agree on that. I think the name of Ido of the Doctor remains the same in about all the edition. I know. I think it's always coincidentally it was the my grandpa's nickname. We used to call him Ido. That was a very funny synchronicity inside my family. Needless to say. Also, I'd like to point out that in the general context of Alita, like amnesiac tropes make a bit more sense than in general, because there is this running theme of personality, of what exactly is a person when you can upload a personality inside a computer and copy it and so on and so forth, which is you can say it's a bit run-of-the-mill cyberpunk themes, but I think it's executed in a very good way in this particular case. At least
yeah,
perhaps it's my, it's my, I think perhaps it's my rose-tinted glasses, but I think that one, this time it was done well.
yeah. I mean, so I think it also like helps to explain why she's very good uh, at combat.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
that's basically the explanation. Because even though she doesn't have exact memories of her past, because she was a warrior, she still remembers. I guess some of the
Yeah.
techniques. Um, I don't know. I can't, I have to admit that some of the like I don't know shonen manga kind of explanations about ki
Mhm.
and different techniques like the panzerkunst or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, I wasn't that much into it. And
We can take it in Jujutsu Kaisen. We can take it here.
yeah,
You know what I mean? This at least was done earlier. Also,
yeah,
there is this big science fiction veneer on it. Like I'm not actually using chi. Chi is not scientific. It's not something that exists. Rather, I'm using the circuits in my body to convey plasma energy through it. I don't think it works like that, but okay. You know.
yeah. Like before you came on, we were like talking about how like it's Alita is like cyberpunk, but it has like a shonen manga kind of
Yeah.
structure on top of it, and where it's a bunch of like a series of battles, and it becomes most obvious, of course, in Last Order, where like
Yeah.
it's literally a tournament arc. Um, yeah, and then after Last Order, I think there's something called Mars or something, where basically Alicia finally goes back to Mars, and they finally find out. They finally reveal like her backstory for anyone who's interested.
Yeah.
Yeah, I I haven't read that final series yet, though.
Not yet either, but I've got it ordered and, waiting for the moment in which I can dedicate some time to reading the whole series. But, basically, it's what we expect. I think it's what we have been waiting for the last 30 years. If one, someone like the first comic is exactly what the fuck is going on. But it's also being very spoiled in many ways because, for instance, the original ending of the first series was famously a bit rushed due to the author's health problems, and he basically, I think at that time he thought he wasn't going to be able to finish the series properly, and so we have this wrapping up ending, which reveals a bit of what he would have, what his plans were for the whole series, I think, in that particular time. This part is, of course, rewritten when Alita Last Order starts, because he realized, well, okay, I'm going to be able to make this shit. I'm going to survive after all. Very good, thank you God. let's reorder the plot from the start.
Yeah. I mean, I think.
Things that happen. I mean.
Yeah. Were you surprised that Alita ended up getting a film adaptation, and did you watch it?
I didn't make James Cameron for the kind of guy who would like Alita. And in fact, I realized that it's a film adaptation specifically of the OVA, or than of the whole franchise, we could say, of the whole universe, or at least of the comic, which, I mean, it's pretty serviceable for as a conveyance of the OVA in itself. And it's not offensive to fans, I think. I sort of liked it, but also not very enthusiastic for some things, some choices. But I think people can imagine which.
Is it the character design for Alita? Or
Yeah, but a bit more. The eyes are just a bit too big for the uncanny valley effect. I realized I'm going to make she's a cyborg. I'm going to make her into a real life anime character. Fuck you. I understand the feeling, but could have worked a little bit more on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I think I don't know if some Alita fans want to admit it, but Alita's character design really does help the series as well.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
see it. Although, even if you take out, the
Nice.
cutesy design, I still think it would work because in my opinion, how the scenes are composed and how the fights are composed, you could just kind of imagine, and I guess the best way to describe it, it's kind of very cinematic, and you can kind of see how each panel kind of moves. It's very smooth.
Yeah. Also, guilty as charged. Alita is my original waifu for obvious reason.
Yeah,
Guilty as charged.
Yeah, for a long time, I thought that Alita is the best female character in manga and anime for a while, but I guess, I mean, how relevant? What do you think of the way that they play with her sex or gender, whatever you want to call it, in the manga?
Well, I mean, it's interesting because we have actual thought put into it beyond just I am what I feel I am. That is popular as today. I don't think we want to enter into such controversies, but okay, because on some level, of course, you could say. She's nothing. She is whatever gender / she has no gender because she's a robot. She's a cyborg. There's very little in her that you can be said to have biological sex. Her brain, the cell in her brain, of course, would have the two X chromosomes, but those two have been, shoved in nanites so many times that it's entirely academic what gender she wants, what gender or sex she is. And in Alita Last Order, this is explored by having several goofy clones. So one of which, in particular, decided, you know what, I'm fucked. I think I feel more like a boy than like a girl. Which at that point, it's not like he's going to ever reproduce. You know what I mean? Not naturally, at least. So it becomes a very academic point in some level.
Some people felt like there was like a decrease in quality starting from Last Order. Did you feel that too?
I felt it was dragged out. I mean, it was about the volumes in bulk of the chapters, because in Italy it was published by, I don't remember exactly which house, but they were basically publishing chapter by chapter in small volumes. So I did the smart thing, and instead of buying each chapter as it came out, I waited for a couple of years, basically, and told my comic guy to get them all for me. And then when the series was at about half, I've read it in bulk. And when you do this, I mean, it's still a pretty long series comparatively, but you can get through it, and everything makes perfect sense, and so on and so forth. But I can imagine that if you were the kind of guy who bought each chapter individually, basically, or each volume individually, God forbid, probably you got fucking bored with with the infinite tournament that they were having. You know what I mean? And yeah. I can accept that some people would think, there has been a decrease in quality because this thing is never going to end. I understand, but it's I think it is an artifact of consuming it like this largely. There is a lot of very cool stuff in Last Order, which I at least appreciated because I could read it in bulk,
I can't I've read Last Order too, but it's been so many years. Did the art style change, or
I think he got more into digital art and so on and so forth, and started polishing his art. I don't think it changed dramatically though.
Okay. One thing which I'd forgotten was the fact that Alita ends up getting a few boyfriends at least in the original manga series. Yeah. So there's Hugo, there's Chaos, and Figure 4. Yeah. And then I don't know, some people are putting some question marks on the relationship between Ido and Alita, but I wouldn't go that far.
No, that is a very fatherly relationship, and people should stop reading the games.
Yeah. I was going to say Hugo. Okay. I was going to say of Hugo, the first boyfriend, well, he couldn't handle a sensitive young man and he died.
Yeah. Now, he could have been a boyfriend if he had lived. You know what I mean? Yeah. He died very quickly, so that remained, that was left there.
Yep. And on to Alita joining, I guess, the sports ball tournament.
Motorball, I think. Yeah, it was called.
Intensely based segment of, I mean, this guy is not afraid of literally changing the genre of his fucking manga when he cares about it. Yeah, Yeah. I think we are going to have a whole arc about races. Why? Because it's a cyberpunk city. People have got to do something in their lives. They watch races. Cool.
Yeah, and it like it still like makes sense as well with the, because it's like basically bread and circus put up
Yeah.
by the factory by Zalem, basically for
Yes,
to
it
keep.
serves as as means for world building in the end, which the author does a lot of covertly in the original series, and then in the La Little Last Order decides to just tell you because apparently he's tired to be coy, but, but you know it still sort of works. But in particular because you have character like Destinova to explain to you the pseudoscientific bullshit, so things keep making sense, and you can have a whole freaking arc about the flash about the vampire girls flashback and so on and so forth.
Yeah, yeah, I didn't really expect that either. Yeah,
And I didn't expect that,
well,
but I was pleasantly surprised in the end because I thought, what is this bullshit? You know, when I started, but in the end, it sort of made sense too. I don't know why she had to be a vampire for this plot to make sense in the context of the overall plot, but okay, she's a vampire. Nice.
yeah. Have you read anything else by what's his name, Yukito Kishiro?
I wanted to get into the fantasy manga that he started at some point, but I couldn't find it, through comic means. So I usually wait to buy a few volumes of something before I start downloading it to to get to the point, uh, for basically to pay the artist. But I know that in practice you are paying the publishing house. But okay, that
Yeah,
is a conversation for another time.
yeah. Yeah, because I kind of feel like he's sort of like a creator who's defined by one series and one character for
I
most
think
people.
mostly yes, because he tried to do other things, but many, as far as I know, didn't really pan out for a series of reasons. Also, we have to remember that he had health problems for a long while, so there has been a long hiatus in his production, as 6 to 7 years or something, which probably would, probably would impact his production. And at that point, he probably figured out he had to get back to the game, and probably I'd do it through my most famous character too. On a purely pragmatic point of view.
Yeah, yeah. We were also talking about how like even though it's like there are some shonen tropes here and there,
Mhm.
it's not like those shonen where like you have like an ensemble of characters who are like
Mhm.
friends fighting together. It's mostly about Alita, and occasionally you get, when arcs change,
Mhm.
Alita basically just leaves the characters from the early arc behind
Mhm.
for the next one. Um,
Yes, in particular in the original series, it's very episodic in some sense in this because we have Alita traveling around, becoming an agent of Salem at some point. We discover that the rest of the world is keeps being completely fucked, perhaps even more than the scrappy city, which we could expect because we were from the beginning we have seen this city and Salem on top, and all around it fucking desert. So by context clue, we could probably get that there was going to be a whole mess in the rest of the planet, probably. But also, I like that he made it make sense for the like. There is several villages around that help sustain the freaking city. Obviously, makes perfect sense. Where are they cultivating their food?
yeah, and another thing which I was wondering about is like, if like there's so many cyborgs like Alita who
Mhm.
obviously can't have children, how come they have like an overpopulation crisis? But I guess it makes sense if there's like other places
Yeah.
outside where like people are not cyborgs and they move on into the
Yeah.
scrapyard for. opportunities and whatnot, and that's what sustains the population growth, I guess. um, because I don't think having having cyborg parts will do wonders for your facility. Let's just say.
I mean, you get a stable population at the very least, unless they start killing each other. Oops.
Whoops.
Yeah. Yeah. Um. Also, um, have you seen any series which you thought copied from Alita at all, or was inspired by it, or is it
Mm,
or is it or is it rather that Alita is more inspired by other stuff?
I'll let Albania Man start, but I have a controversial one.
uh, I guess, well, the whole. I don't know what started first, if it was Ghost in the Shell or Alita, but it's one or the other that started the whole, brain. Well, the whole brain upload is not exactly a new concept, but I would kind of argue that they kind of took some things from Ghost in the Shell, and to be honest, I'm not quite sure. Maybe a bit of other shonen manga that I'm not familiar with. He obviously had a few inspirations, but I can't list them off the top of my head.
I mean, I'm sure that whether the Ghost in the Shell or Alita came first, it was probably the zeitgeist of the late 90s or something like that. that
Right.
produced cyberpunk from Japan.
So
As
did you
of
have
my
any?
yeah. Okay. As of my controversial pick for things that are clearly inspired by Alita, I will go with Terraformers because it portrays colonization of the solar system with cyberpunk elements. And, you have this technology, which, of course, in Alita, it's cyborgization, and in Terraformer, it's genetic splicing that contributes to change the concept of human in a sense, and leads and it's the real force leading up the plot, because if you look at it objectively, in Alita, very little would have happened if uploading a consciousness inside a computer was even a tiny bit different from the way it is portrayed. And likewise, in Terraformer, you wouldn't have the whole crisis of terraforming Mars with cockroach people that start eating humans if if people, if genetic engineering had worked even slightly differently in universe, let us say. So yeah, this is my controversial pick. Freaking Terraformers is inspired by Battle Angel Alita. Fight me in the comments.
I don't know if it was inspired by it, but it reminded me of Alita. A recent anime called Gachiakuta. Because it's a shonen kind of thing, but basically there's people living above in the sky in a supposed utopia or whatever, but obviously it's one kind of a dystopia, and anyone who does some serious crime or whatever gets thrown down into kind of a chaotic world which is built from the trash of the stuff which is thrown by the people who live above, and it's the theme is of the series, I guess, is it's recycling, because because basically the way that the powers work in Gachakuta is that if someone has like an object which they care for, everything has a spirit, so the object ends up giving them powers, basically.
Pretty based. I didn't know about it. Sounds cool though.
Yeah, yeah. But again, I know that the mangaka for that series was inspired by Saul Eater, but I don't
Mm,
think that I haven't heard anything about Alita.
mhm.
Um, yeah. Um, so who do you think? Do you think that Destinova is the main antagonist?
Destinova is a strange mix between a mentor and a comic relief, basically. Because if we an antagonist has to oppose he has to be opposed ideologically to the protagonist, but I mean, not really. Destinova is just very progressive about this new technology and about the implication of his study of causality, basically, of causality and free will, which leads him to do several things that were obviously proved unpopular, let us say. Let's be euphemistic, but in the end, it's not like can say it's ideologically opposed to Alita or to the characters or to the moral center of the show. You can say is the antagonist to Salem. You could say to the government
Yeah.
of Salem. That, of course, okay, they exiled him and then they started doing gay ops about it and so on and so forth. And of course, he said, "Oh, right, 8 nanoplagues then," which is just how things go, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah. I think he's probably one of, for me at least, one of the most iconic mad scientist
Absolutely.
characters.
He's
Yeah.
also powerfully based in every sense.
Um. So I don't know how it was translated in your version, but in the English version which I read, it was, I guess, his quest was to defeat karma.
Hmm?
Or so I guess, do you think that like his research made sense for what his goal was?
No, but I accept it. I accept as a contrivance of this universe that there is literal subatomic particles that determines karma. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't understand how like his research connected to what his research goals were. To be honest.
Yeah.
I think I would rationalize it as the equivalent of someone just doing work that is so complicated he doesn't even understand what the original purpose was and just kept going.
Yeah. Basically, at some each we don't see the moment of dialogue in which Destinova says, like, these already have unforeseen consequences. And the more I go on, the more the unforeseen consequences will be. And they will probably be tragic. People will die, and so on and so forth. And I am all for that. Let's go.
Yeah, it almost kind of sounds like he doesn't believe like his research will result in him overturning karma at all.
And
But
he's studying karma. He probably figured out I'm going to find out a way not to be affected by it eventually. So fuck you.
yeah,
He more or less succeeds in the beginning of Last Order when he starts, reproducing transportation in the whole of Salem, and there is basically Destinova larvae coming out of the walls and so on and so forth that people kill with flamethrowers, but there are just too many of them. So you could say he has defeated causality because
yeah,
he
yeah.
just become a whole species. Fuck you.
Yeah, I think like if you only read the first series, you just don't get the full spectrum of his insanity.
Yeah.
Uh,
You have to wait for the moment when the inorganic matter of a wall start becoming organic and start reproducing, and a Destinova comes out of the wall that really understand that. That's Karmatronics then. Okay, cool. I get it now.
Yeah, I think he also kind of remains like the only thing related to Zalem, which remains relevant as the series goes on, because I think he's also there in Mars Chronicle as well somehow.
And the artificial intelligence of Salem that contains the souls of every Salemite and so on and so on. That too remains relevant because Alita wants to reincarnate the girl who was kind to her, who was working for Salem Gay Ops. The only one who was kind for her, and that is one of the driving motives behind Last Order and everything, because she wants to win the tournament so she can reincarnate that. But no, we brought that to Mars, so now you've got to go to Mars and we have to discover your past. Okay, you know.
Yeah, I read on
Though
the
that I
Wikipedia.
love this franchise, I recognize when things are wacky. You know what I mean?
Yeah, according to Wikipedia, like Kishiro is planning another series after Mars Chronicle as well. So, I mean, another Alita continuation.
Based. I don't know what they are going to do next, but I'm okay. Let's see.
Maybe they'll tie into his other manga, the other fantasy manga about the
I
orca.
put money on aliens showing up because they foreshadowed it at least once in Alita Last Order. So my money is after Mars, it's the aliens.
So I guess when it comes to iconic characters, there's a tendency of them not changing. Like think of Sherlock Holmes or something like that.
Yeah.
Do you think that applies to Alita as well?
What do you think, Albania? I mean, you start with that.
To be honest, I haven't really finished Alita. I caught up with the Motorball arc, but I haven't finished it much. But from what I could gather, Alita does kind of change, although it's not significant. I mean, for instance, the old Hugo dying kind of made her go, well, let's get the fuck out and let's do some sports to kind of, I guess, her way of just coping with the death of her first crush.
Well, I think from the series, for as much as from as much as I've read and so on and so forth, I think some aspects of Alita remain very consistent in her personality and so on, but there's also, several things in which she evolves, let us say, in which she shows new aspects going forward and so on and so forth. In particular, as you said, there is this whole thing about several boyfriends and the way they impact character growth, like Hugo dies and so on and so forth. Figure 4 is a freaking Chad and so on and so forth. And I will say that each character, each chapter inside the story, I don't mean chapter in the publishing sense, but in the character arc sense. We have an evolution of Alita, but she also, at the core, always remains that's the appealing part of her character. She always remains coherent in that. That is, undeniably, she is a so-called strong female character, but she remains female. She remains feminine, despite the fact that she's a cyborg. Psychically, she remains feminine, and you can see in Revolution that, yes, nothing really changes that. Even in Last Order, sometimes she appears a bit bitchy or rowdy, basically, because she's evolving and developing hyper technology ahead of thousands of years compared to the others in the artificial body. Jesus only knows exactly how, but okay. So it is understandable that she starts having a bit of a Dr. Manhattan complex at some point, but in the moment in which sets the how it's called, the guy, the a clone that is a male but is not that guy. Every time he challenges her, he remains as a sort of a conscience of her. And every time they interact, you can see that Alita, as you know it, is always is still in there, basically. And that's a good thing, I think. I think that's an interesting facet. I think that the author really knows what makes the character appealing and wants to preserve it, while also showing us that she can develop and behave in different ways depending on the situation and so on and so forth.
Mhm.
So
I
yeah, I
think,
like how she did it. Too long didn't read.
yeah, I guess I feel like sometimes she kind of alternates between like her normal personality and then which is more feminine, and then I guess she goes into cope mode where like um where like she's like fully the warrior to like
Mhm.
escape something bad which has happened, like I don't know, Ido
Yeah.
being
Yes,
killed.
that is a way to see it. You could say that every time there's something traumatic, she goes more batch basically for the time, but it's a cope basically. You could explain it like that in part, I think.
But she
Or
also like enjoys the fight as well for its own
Yeah,
sake. It can't be said that
yeah,
she
she's
doesn't.
absolutely an adrenaline freak that will fight for the lols basically in many ways.
or if you want to have a cringeworthy comparison, she has the saber complex.
Oh yeah, that too. That can be an interpretation. Perhaps you could say that being a cyborg, the only act that she can perform that equates to, intimacy is fighting. Because she cannot really. I don't know if they ever got around to make artificial uteruses that you can install in cyber girls in that universe, but I think not. So I think in a way, fighting is the only act that equates to intimacy to a person in a condition, in a way. So you could see that from that angle too, I think.
Yeah, I mean, speaking again of her boyfriends, it's like the contrast between them is kind of funny. Like when you compare like Hugo and Figure Four.
Yeah.
Um, I wonder if that's also because like I think like there's like a gap of like 18 years or something.
Mhm.
So like maybe like she has just mentally aged as well
In part, yeah.
because
But it's also that it's completely different situations and characters she's interacting to. Like, obviously, she's going to react differently to Figure Four, like Mr. Giga Chad of the post-apocalypse desert, than she was with Hugo, the sensitive young man that now he discovers he's a cyborg, and so on and so forth. It's going to be a bit different in general, I think.
yeah, but because I think like it's not only like her gender which doesn't always match her actions, but it's also her age as well, because
Mhm.
she doesn't age basically, and
Yeah.
and like from the very start, she's basically more ancient than most of the other characters
Mhm.
um, in the series. Even though, like, I guess her mentality kind of gets reset because of the amnesia.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, even that to a point, because even in the very beginning, she shows several moments of very high emotional maturity that you wouldn't expect from basically an entity that has been reborn yesterday, more or less. but suddenly they make sense in the context of the other things that she does. I mean that Alita in the end remains a coherent character, and I guess the engram of her personality holds stable, basically, you could say, regardless of situation. But of course, she will react differently to different things, and so on and so forth.
Hmm. Another thing, which I guess the manga does from time to time is like they will like quote philosophers or
Mhm.
even songs and whatnot. And in the first volume, there's a character which misquotes Nietzsche, uh, and says something like, "What was it? The body is the no, the or rather the spirit or the mind is the body's plaything," which I don't feel like it's a thing which Nietzsche and yeah, and the character literally says this is what Nietzsche said, but Nietzsche didn't say it.
No,
And I don't
never
think it
say
was like.
While he's doing the whole meme, this is he just said this.
Have you read Nietzsche? No.
Yeah, I guess even thousands of years after the apocalypse, people are still pretending to have read Nietzsche.
Yeah.
Um, uh, and but I guess what I was trying to get in with that joke is like how would you look at this, or does it even really make sense at all to look at it from a Nietzschean perspective at all?
Not very, honestly. I mean, you could say that once one is a cyborg, is pure will to power, basically, because he's unfettered from the need of the body. You could say he's unfettered from the need from emotion. You could say in a way because a lot of the chemical machinery that makes us feel in the way we feel is simply not in the brain, basically. So even if you would take a brain and put it into a cybernetic body, you wouldn't have that, and much less if you made, some kind of engram of someone's personality and memory to download and use in a variety of bodies and so on and so forth. Mm. So you could say, in a Nietzschean sense, yes, when you are a cyborg, you can express your will to power fully because you have no you're human, too human. You know what I mean? You could see it in that way, but in the end, it's. I think it's refuted in practice by the characters and how they act. In particular, obviously, Alita, she remains herself despite being a freaking nano machine goddess at some point. So,
Mhm. Yeah, I guess the thing, I she does sort of like look down on other characters who are like not as brave as her. Um, like for example, at times she kind of looks down on the people in the scrapyard for not
mhm.
fighting back. Do you feel like she's been fair? Because it's not like she has like a plan or anything. Um, and the only reason why she's able to get away with being who she is, acting the way she does, is because of her latent martial prowess.
Mhm.
So uh, like I remember like two moments. The first one is when she first comes across Japan, if you remember,
Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
uh, and at that bar, I can't remember the name now. Um, and she basically wants all of the hunter warriors or whatever they're called,
Mhm.
the people going after bounties for the factory,
Yeah,
basically, to
Pantheontes, yeah.
the to go with her in order to defeat Metaku or whatever it was called, the worm head
Yeah.
guy who can take over, and and Japan is like, oh, we are professionals, so we don't go after fights which we know we cannot win and whatnot, and then and then Alita basically just kicks everyone's as calling them cowards.
It's a funny, moment in many ways. But okay.
But do you think that Alita was being fair there?
Not really, but she's probably thinking it in terms of, subconsciously, she's probably thinking it in terms of military objectives and so on and so forth, because that is the foundation of her psyche in the end, the training that she doesn't even remember at that moment. So she sees it as there is a strategic objective. This guy is going to kick everyone's ass if we don't stop him. So it is entirely in keeping with the military discipline that now there is some guy is going to take command. If necessary, that will be me, and we are going to go and murder this asshole. And obviously, a bounty hunter don't think in these terms. A bounty hunter thinks in terms of profit, and they're going to say, obviously, no, I'm not going to put my life in risk to defeat someone who is so OP. Go and do it yourself.
Yeah,
and, in a way that is very anti-Nietzschean, because if really it was meant to convey the Nietzschean philosophy, basically, in the show, she would never even have called the other guy. She would have said, my will to power says that this guy has to fucking die. Let's go.
Yeah, and that, I mean, she's still like a good person. So when the villain comes and kidnaps the baby Koyomi, who later on grows up as well. She tells Ido and that basically she's so the guy has powered up as well with him by stealing another body, and she basically says that after having talked big, it would be wrong for her to just to not go, so she goes anyway. So I'm not I don't know if that makes sense in a military objective kind of sense.
No, in this case probably no. Yeah, but
so so the way that she's looking at it changes from time to time as well. Because she's also it's I guess she's kind of like a berserker on the one hand, but she's also I guess she's got the personality of a shonen manga hero as well, basically.
That is in the end, how the various influences on the psychic worked out in the end.
Yeah. I mean, what else is there? I was going to say something now I forgot. Do you think it would be would it make a big difference if Alita's gender was swapped?
No, she wouldn't be my wife. But besides that,
that's the biggest difference.
Not much.
I guess in my case, I mean, it would, considering. I mean, if I would imagine if they would have the same scenario as a guy, aside from the fight scenes, it would be kind of strange. You would just say, "Oh, it's a very feminine man."
Yeah, I mean, if you take Alita's personality wholesale and make her into a man, it would probably end up with some head-scratching moments in his choices and so on and so forth.
Yeah. So I kind of felt like since we brought up Japan, so so Japan tries to get back at he totally overreacts and tries to get back at Alita by creating a situation where like she has to choose between Yugo and Ido, but Alita just ends up just tearing Zapan's face off. um, so
He could have foreseen that, you know.
yeah, yeah,
The data was all there to reach the conclusion that this was going to end very badly.
yeah, yeah. But basically, like you kind of see like, and at the end when, well, not the actual end, but when, so Zapan basically loses his mind.
Mhm.
The reason why I'm talking about Zapan is because he's unusually, along with Destinova, if you consider him to be a villain, he's
Mm.
one of, he comes back a few times, whereas other
Yes.
antagonists do not. So he comes back again. So he loses his mind, um, and for some reason, Alita like decides like yeah, Alita finds the fact that she has a musical talent as well. That's another story, but
You
she
know. Okay.
she uh, so um so for some reason Alita decides to like play a song and give
Oh, yeah, I
Japan. And
remember. The
yeah.
very short Alita plays at pubs arc.
Yeah, I think she's also like a DJ or something.
She,
um
yes, yes, she has a keyboard and she's playing. Yeah, probably she's
yeah.
also putting music and so on and so forth.
uh,
But you know,
yeah, but she gives Japan an opportunity to like do anything to her, but Japan is too mind broken. And then um and then afterwards, the uh, oh god, there's so many things going on. So Zapan also killed the daughter of another bounty hunter, the one with the robot dogs, the cyborg dogs.
ah,
Um,
yeah, yeah,
a-
yeah, that guy.
y- yeah, and because so basically, Alita says that for as long as she plays that song on her accordion, I think it's called, or keyboard or something, and uh, Zapan can do anything to her, but
As
so,
soon as I
yeah,
finish with the song,
yeah, but
so help
Zapan is
me God.
yeah, yeah, he's like unable to do anything, and then he gets torn apart by the cyborg dogs.
Mhm.
But and then Alita says something like, what was it? Um, no one will shed tears for a coward, or something like that.
Mhm.
And I think it kind of makes sense because um, I guess uh, Alita's original criticism of Japan was that Japan was a coward, right?
Mhm. Oh, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
back at the Kansas bar. No, I remember the name of the bar suddenly. It's called the
Mhm.
Kansas bar. Um, and um, I kind of felt like the worst thing to be in this world, in Alita's world, is probably like to be a coward. Of course, you know
Like
what?
you mean the moral universe of the story? Yes, probably,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Because you
Uh,
can think of several other. Go on, I'm sorry.
no, no, you go on. You see.
You can think of, for example, you can think of several other episodes in which not even physical cowardice, but moral cowardice is shown to be one bad and two self-destructive. Like, for instance, the whole of Salem going crazy when they discover that actually you are not fully human. You have a chip in your head, and so on and so forth. And basically, they start rioting because of cope, of pure weaponized autism, you could say, and not wanting to and either thinking, yeah, I'm not human, that means the moral law doesn't apply to me. Woohoo! Or on the other
Yeah,
side, thinking, I'm refusing to think I'm not a human, I'm going to kill anyone who says I'm not a human. You, what do you think about me? Am I a human? No. All right. That is,
yeah,
in the end, that was a very good example of moral cowardice, of not wanting to face the truth of your existence, and so on and so forth. And Salem paid by by being
did the
beautiful.
did the suicide boots make it to the last order as well, or were they just
No,
in the
fortunately
original?
not. But it was the kind of thing you would have on Salem. We don't see
Yeah,
them in Last Order, but probably they were there.
yeah, and again, I guess that sort of like makes sense with what you said about about
Yeah.
cowardice being the worst thing, being not
Yeah,
being able to
Salem
face
is
the
a
real world.
very coddled society, and people start thinking things are not going in their way, and they actually enter a fucking suicide boot. That's the kind of culture you have there. But it's not a problem. We just clone them. Fuck you. I get it, but perhaps it's not the best way to go forward as a civilization. And then Little Story starts with the civilization of Salem going fuck you, which is in accordance with the theme, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Basically, they kind of go insane because they can't face reality.
Yeah.
And I guess the people who go into the suicide booths as well, they just can't face reality. Um,
The suicide boots show that it was a systemic problem of Salem not wanting to be a coward and not wanting to face reality, basically. Like, even before they started chimping out, they were already suiciding themselves in boots because, I don't know,
yeah, I mean,
because I bet on the races and I've lost.
yeah, I mean, even Ido,
Mm.
like, it kind of seemed weird at the time that he would just go insane just because he found out, the secret of the Zalemite.
Yeah.
The fact that he doesn't have a brain. Did you feel that way as well, or was it just me?
Like he has the chance to simply go in the woods and become how can you say farmhouse doctor for the villages surrounding the big city, and apparently just blocked the memory of not being human and went on as usual or something like that. And that is true. That is kind of cowardice too. But I think then later Figure 4 gets him by pure synchronicity or karmatronics, you could say. He finds him and they go to Salem and then they go to Keterer or whatever is the name, or Jeru, and so on and so forth. So in the end, he has to face it too. And at the end of La Little Last Order, I think he's at peace with not being fully human either.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know exactly why people would be so shocked by realizing that they have a chip in their brain and so on and so forth, because we are at Salem and most of humanity is made of cyborgs.
Yeah, I think maybe it's partly because like they kind of look down on the people in the scrapyard who like change everything except their brain.
Okay, but
It still wouldn't
realize
make them
they
go
are
crazy. Yeah.
eugenetic people. They are eugenetic aliens, all blonde, blue-eyed, with all exactly 2 meters tall and so on and so forth. It's okay. The other guys put metal in their body and so on and so forth. You can say it's distasteful and something else, but you are not exactly, you have not exactly born in the way in the way humanity has been born for most of its history either.
Yeah. It's never explained why Destinova is insane, is it? Or why he went insane?
I think it was a part of that too, that he discovers that too, but also he was doing karmatronics. And then he said, you know what? I don't think I'm going to be a coward. I think I'm going to be a mad scientist instead.
Yeah, I wonder though, like if if that's also kind of an escape as well from reality.
A
He
bit
just go
perhaps, but
insane. Yeah,
he's so cool in doing that
yeah,
everyone forgives.
I know. Like he does so much evil stuff, but I just can't bring myself to hate him either as a character. Um, and even Alita kind of, she doesn't forgive him exactly, but she lets him live. Uh,
And great recognizes great. At some point you have to say, okay, this guy has got so much balls. You have to respect the game, if not the player.
yeah, I mean, even in the first series, we are like, um, he's kind of the instigator for a lot of things which happen to
Yeah.
Alita from the very start.
Mhm.
Because all the major antagonists are like results of his experiments.
Yeah, but it's
Um,
not like he's actually going after her. He's doing animatronics. He's tracking where the karma particles are going, and apparently they're going to this girl. Interesting. Let's see what happens.
although, like, in the original ending, the one which was rushed,
Mhm.
um, Destinova actually does end up going insane.
Yeah.
Because like he can't accept that Alita saved him or something.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, it was a pretty weak thing to
Yeah,
add, to be honest. I like it better that he in Last Order, when he's basically bullshitting his way around Jeru and people underestimate him. Meanwhile, he's all over his server and so on and so forth. In a few years, they are all going to interact with Destinova, the AI, every time they want to make coffee in Jeru.
okay. Um, yeah, he doesn't. Yeah. Okay, let's see what else is there.
Chaos is an interesting part of the franchise, in my opinion. The whole riot of the people from outside the city, organized by Chaos alternate personality, which is Chaos being Destinova's kid, by the way.
Yeah.
By the way, the whole thing about he can project his double personality inside a mecha for some freaking reason, and that mecha goes around the countryside recruiting, recruiting the techno barbarians to storm the city and everything, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, it reminded me a bit of Okronoken there a bit.
Very. And it's very cool in itself, but it thematically shows that this kind of approach is not really useful to change things in this world, because in the end, what was he going to freaking do? Was he going to, let's say, he conquers the Scrappyard city? Nice. Now we get to Salem. Good fucking job. Good fucking luck.
Yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
I think basically his goal was taking down Salem, more than even taking over the scrapyard, really.
Yeah.
But obviously,
He was probably wanting to take down Salem, but he had that super cannon that could shoot in orbit, which was cool. Okay, that could probably do some damage, and he had a planet, and he had to attack a city on a space freaking elevator. Unless you can literally fill the sky with planes, I don't see how this works. How a siege of Salem would work. You know what I mean? Either you start climbing the cables, and I don't think that is going to work either, or you are going to need an air force, which you don't have. You don't have the means to make it one, because the planet is destroyed. So that will mean a very long-term plan in which we gather resources, we make an industrial base anew, and so on. And on. We repurpose everything that we made, and now we have planes, and we can go to Salem, perhaps. And then you go there and you discover they committed suicide because they discovered they were not human. So, yeah, it was not a very good idea, a very good plan in itself. But it makes sense because after all, it's the projected angst of a teenager basically into a machine of war, and he's going to think in the same way a teenager thinks. And it's funny that everyone listened to him rather than tell him, what are you going to do once we are near Salem,
Yeah, I think maybe it's like a case of like things are so bad anyway.
Yeah. It's not very going to improve. Even if let's say you destroy Salem, nice. Now we have destroyed Salem and the Scrapyard City because it's directly underneath. So it's going to fall on it. And yeah, and that's done.
I mean, is the like? Do you think? To me, like, it wasn't really clear that it was even Zalem's fault that the scrapyard was a giant mess.
It's more like it's due to neglect more than fault, I think, because it's not portrayed like Zalem is doing anything in particular to make the lives in the of the people in the scrapyard shittier than they would be. You know what I mean? In fact, they send a lot of material down that they can repurpose and so on and so forth. In Salem, they do have an industrial base, and so, of course, we are sending what we are not going to use anymore, the scraps, down, and you can reverse engineer it and make lots of cool stuff. That's not nothing, you know what I mean? But it is also a very laissez-faire situation that contributed to a system in which basically everyone was fighting for the scraps, and so gangs arose and so on and so forth. I don't think they oppressed Scrapyard City. I think they didn't give enough of a shit about the Scrapyard City.
Yeah, I think there was kind of like a colonial kind of theme going on, because I think that the reason why there were factories was basically to send like the processed raw materials to Zalem.
In a way, yes, but you have to remember that Zalem is the colony here. In a very real way, that they made that to build a space elevator and go to space. So every other colony's solar system passed from there.
I mean, like, because think about it, like what Alita was doing for Zalem was basically protecting the supply lines.
Yeah.
For the resources being sent up. Right. So I kind of feel like maybe I don't think that Dan was thinking of it that far, but maybe like to try to like starve out Zalem basically by cutting off natural resources from the surface.
Yeah, that probably would have create some problem, but you have to remember that Salem is in high orbit. They can orbitally inject everywhere in the planet and get the freaking resources if it comes to it. You know what I mean?
Are they connected?
You can stop them from going anywhere. It's not a siege.
I feel like I don't know. The original ending kind of implied that the supercomputer went insane and decided to like isolate the Zalemites both from space and from the surface. Is that not the case in Last Word? I can't remember now. Are they still connected?
I don't remember exactly what the deal with the supercomputer was in Last Order, beyond the fact that it contained basically the souls of all Zalemite, because when the Zalemite has matured, basically his personality, his brain is engrammed, and he's left with a chip in his brain and a kind of contemporary copy of his whole personality and everything inside the supercomputer. And at the moment of that, he uploads the other side and goes, basically becomes one again in there, which is okay. I think that in Last Order, the whole thing was due to the famous Last Order of the title, which was basically the last order given by the guy who founded both Scrapyard City and later Salem to to colonize space and rebuild humanity, basically after the big disasters and so on and so forth, which was to preserve humanity. And basically, the supercomputer took it very, very literally because it's a supercomputer, and things went to fuck from there. But it's difficult to assert that it was malfunctioning. You know what I mean? It's more like you are a dumb bastard that is going to, and you are giving your chat GPT conflicting orders and unclear directives, and so now enjoy it. And so now enjoy this all spawn on your hard drive. AI generated.
Yeah.
I don't know if it makes sense, but that's a general gist of what I remember and got from how it's portrayed in the story.
The Zalamites, they can't go into space. They can't go up the elevator, can they? Or can they?
They can. They have relation, but they have some. They can't directly, but the supercomputer and the government of Salem had a relationship with the supercomputer and government of Jeru. Basically, they sent stuff down, they sent stuff up, and so on and so forth. But yeah, the regular Salemite probably knew that there was something on top of the space elevator. They just didn't care about exactly what. They were doing their thing and they were happy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just that then kind of like gave me like a third world dictator warrior kind of feel, like Idi Amin or something.
Well, I was also gonna say, to invade Salem, we need kamikaze pilots.
Yeah. They were sending like human cannons or something.
Oh, right, that yeah. I don't know how much damage that was done in the long run, but okay, let's try.
Yeah. There's little things in this manga, like the small arc with the photographer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, who was actually like just a serial killer. Who turned out to be like a serial killer.
You think that would lead somewhere in the overall plot, but no, it was just a fucking serial killer. stuff happens,
Yeah, but then like he kind of like ends up believing in this false dream, and then it ends up like sacrificing himself to protect Koyomi as well. Yeah. Who then becomes like a photographer or something as well.
Yes, and there is a whole subplot too in Last Order when we see what Koyomi is doing meanwhile, and she's being a photographer and a journalist and so on and so forth. And at some point, she goes in the outskirts and find basically neo-chaos side faction that want to rebuild the 1,000-year Reich and so on and so forth. More or less, they are treated like neo-Nazis because they found one of the bodies of chaos, and they say, we are going to remote pilot it. You play along with us, and we are going to actually do the revolution. This time is going to work, and so on and so forth. And in the moment, she's a bit. This could be a good idea and so on and so forth. But then she has a literal vision, a static vision of chaos that tells her, this is fake and gay. This is not going to work. Get them busted by the people in the Scrapyard City. Make what you do best. Make a service for your paper and BTF for them. I don't like this. Because you have to remember, in all of these, Chaos is still alive and she doesn't know because he's in Salem. So it may actually have been telepathy, but we don't know.
Yeah. I think. Yeah, I think at least in the original series, it does a good job of like I don't like it how like in shonen manga Like everyone has like a special quirk. Not in all shonen manga. Like Dragon Ball doesn't have it that much, but like every character has like a special power, which is different from all the others. It kind of like takes me out of the setting and makes it feel fake for me, at least.
Well, it's a
Because
contrivance to make the character more memorable, mostly.
yeah, exactly.
The guy from Hunter x Hunter came up with it, I think, in the most original way, and the others couldn't quite replicate the idea, I think. But
Yeah. Didn't he also do a Yu Yu Hakusho, or was it another guy?
yes, he did Yu Yu Hakusho first, and you could say that Spirit Energy is a bit of a prototype for Nen. Then he made Hunter x Hunter, in which he went full weaponized autism about how Nen works. And I must say, and it's a very thorough, very interesting way to make things, to make the characters balanced with one another too. Because in Dragon Ball, you know that this guy is going to eventually be defeated by Goku getting a power up in some way, and he's going to fuck him up, and so on and so forth. In Hunter x Hunter, this all was because there was this sense of actually, no, you don't get power up suddenly for no reason. You have to work with what you have, and you have to strategize the use of the powers of your guys, and so on and so forth. Which it worked, but that guy is allergic to work apparently, so we are never going to read the end.
He's allergic to work, and he's more interested in what is it, Idol Master or those types of games.
More interested in being stepped on his cock by his wife, the girl who made Sailor
Moon. Yeah.
Yep, as well. That's probably why he rather would cope with Idol Master or one of those types of games and deal with his wife.
Well, he gets fandomed every time his wife gets jealous. So you fucking waifu, what is another waifu? I'll step on your dick. Yes, mistress. And so on.
Yeah. Apparently, like when they started going out, he suggested something like he wanted like an open relationship or whatever, and obviously she left him, and he came back crawling to her. Obviously.
I mean, I don't know if you've seen her. She's very hot, even in her 40s. I don't think you can pull on a girl like her something like, I would like our open relationship. It's not going to freaking work. You have to work to keep her.
So, on a scale from Hunter x Hunter to Dragon Ball, where does Alita stand in terms of the way the powers work?
Well, it's very different, because in Alita the powers theoretically are technological, so they all follow the same overall rules. But in reality, this technology is the kind of technology and science in which there is a subatomic particle that determines karma. So it's not exactly the most hard science fiction in the universe, even if there are many things that are very interesting, like the use of plasma, and the guy who uses electromagnetic karate to basically make electromagnetic fields to send plasma around, and so on and so forth. All that is, I won't say realistic, of course, but more verosimile. And there is vague baking in science from the things the characters are supposed to be able of doing, which doesn't really hold, but makes it so that some things are outright impossible, are not going to happen in Battle Angel Alita. I hope. And some other things, have inherent limitations. Like you can control plasma, but you have to emit an electromagnetic freaking field. Electromagnetic field do things beside, controlling plasma. They can fly electronics. They can do stuff. So the question is Nen is science more like Nen or more like Dragon Ball G? I'd say it's not very like any of the two.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Also, like, I think there's kind of like a spectrum of like, which is not objective but keeps on changing, of how like people are
Mhm.
willing to accept how vague the explanations are. Um, and I'm not, I'm not exactly sure if it might have like some connection with um like the age group at which the material is aimed at.
Yeah.
uh, because so this is like this was originally published in Business Jump. Alita was so kind of seinen, but still um people who grew up watching shonen manga and now I
Mhm.
guess want some sense and violence in there as well. um but at the same time, like I don't want to say that it's like a straightforwardly like all the readers prefer to have like more detailed explanations, because I feel like the people who are like more interested in making content around
Mhm.
the way that the powers work, like who's stronger than who. It's I feel like that um, younger readers are more interested in that.
Mhm.
Like I don't know if you have seen those like versus videos where like
The power
uh,
scaling videos, yes.
yeah, um, like I don't feel like they am that me. I feel like they am that like maybe someone maybe 10 years younger than me or something like that.
Yeah.
Who would care more about the way that the powers work more than the themes.
I
Um,
mean, it can be fun if you have a very complex and coherent system to play around with it and use it, for instance, for immersion. For instance, you can make a fanfic and have a character that is a self-insert in Hunter x Hunter, and you have a power that makes sense for the universe. But even that is not very important in the grand scheme of things, because like you can do the same in Sonic the Hedgehog simply by drawing yourself as a platypus or something like that, and everything makes sense and everyone loves you. And Sonic is your best friend. You know what I mean?
yeah. So like basically like the main concern in that kind of comparison is like who's stronger than who. Uh,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. It's also, for immersion, because world building always helps immersion, even when it appears to be useless at first glance. Like it depends how you present it, of course. If you have this fantasy novel, and suddenly this guy from nothing start talking about the magic herbs that grow in the valley of Nungram that allow people to see the future and so on and so forth. Why? Because you made that up, and so now it has to be in the book. And so you didn't know how to play, the plot has nothing to do with that for the moment, at least, but you wanted to introduce it. This is
Yeah,
going
good
to
point.
freaking suck. But if you make it organically, it's going to help the immersion of the reader in the world at the very least. Even if at the moment nobody is going to take the freaking herb that makes you see the future.
Yeah. I guess the reason why I'm not usually into those discussions is because like even on their own terms, is because like usually like the source of the powers in
Mm.
these different series are different, as you said, and
Mhm.
so like a straightforward comparison like ends up becoming really weird. And I think this is also why I can't get into like American comics a bit, to be honest, because like the sources of the powers are like all over the place.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
uh
Literally anything can turn you into into a superhero in American comics, to up to having enough money to pay a Tibetan monk to train you in mystic martial arts. That can be an origin story. That's Batman. You know what I mean?
yeah, and I think it makes sense because like uh, or because of the history of the way that it came about as
Oh
well,
yeah.
I'm guessing. um
Of course, you had a lot of separate comics, each with these strange new character with amazing abilities and so on and so forth. But then the publishing house bought one another until only a few remained, and so now you have Man of Mystery and the best investigator in the planet together with the Alien and the Amazon Queen. Yeah, I understand what you mean.
Well, I guess, sorry to derail it, but it's kind of funny how they say, oh, Batman doesn't have any superpowers, when in fact, the way he acts, it almost is a superhero. It's pretty much an unbelievable how he.
I say this all the time. If you allow me this tangent, I say it is all the time that the Batman, it's utter bullshit that Batman has no superpower. Basically, Batman has a superhuman level of martial arts that even if he had no money at all, he will be able to beat most superheroes, the normal guys with regular ass powers like being faster and so on and so forth.
Yeah, the funny thing is, I'm reading, rather, I'm watching this anime right now. Let me see if I can find the name. So it's about like regular people who are like fans of Kamen Rider, who basically end up. It's called Tojima Wants to Be a Kamen Rider.
Based.
And regular people who are like artistically into like a Kamen Rider, training themselves up, and then it turns out that the villains in Kamen Rider Shocker exist, so that they end up like fighting monsters.
Based.
Yeah, which again, there's a certain amount of like a rule of cool going on there. I wouldn't go as far as to say that like Alita is basically a rule of cool, the way that the powers work, even though I don't always understand the way that they work.
There is a certain level of baking into physics, into science. Although at some point, when Destinova comes and says actually there is a subatomic particle that determines causality, okay, this is going to be wild. let's see it.
Yeah.
It's not, this is the point. It's not more impossible than having a faster than light spaceship in the end. Because we sleep on the fact that faster than light is actually fucking impossible as far as we know about the universe, and every freaking science fiction universe has it, because else you are not going anywhere, basically.
Yeah, I think like one thing which has been lost is, I guess, in a lot of anime shonen stuff is it's basically magic now. So there's less. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. There's less. How do they call it when they use it as an insult, like scientific babble or whatever, sci-fi
Technobabble, yeah.
Technobabble. There you go. Yeah. There is a lot less of that. I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing or a good thing.
I mean, I like a bit of technobabble now and again. If the cyborg suddenly starts throwing lighting, I like a bit of a panel or something that says, actually my muscles are Tesla coils in a certain way, made of carbon nanotubing. If I allow the current to circle around, it's complete bullshit, but okay, nice. Just get back to the story quickly. Don't lose too much time with it, and we can go ahead.
I mean, you could, I think you still get the same kind of autism, like when it comes to like explaining power systems, but which are even like just based on magic, though. Even
because people want to have a magic that makes sense for some reason. Yeah, so some reason, because if the magic doesn't make sense, it's a fable. It's not really an adventure or a story. You know what I mean?
So I think another thing which we discussed, which we have discussed earlier when we were discussing cyberpunk at some point, but I
Mhm,
can't remember in which discussion,
mhm.
was
It was
that.
the Edge Runners.
Oh yeah.
Oh, oh, yeah, edge runners. There you go. I think one thing which maybe I said wrongly was that I kind of felt like the problem with the cyberpunk setting is that it can kind of feel like the setting can't change.
Mm,
Um, but the setting does change here.
mhm.
So the question is, and I feel like it. So the question is, does it change while still remaining cyberpunk? And I feel like it does. But what do you think about that?
No, every one of the punk genre, in my opinion, is a bit of a spectrum between the world and the punk, basically steampunk, cyberpunk, and so on and so forth. Which are you putting the emphasis on? You know, for instance, people you can have steampunk, right? But most people who liked steampunk when it was really popular weren't about the obvious punk things that you will go about it. Like we had Oliver Twist factory working in this clockwork steam city, and we have to survive against the immortal cyber capitalist class, and so on and so forth.
So
I
so
would
I guess.
say that the Alita is still cyberpunk. It just goes a bit less from a lot of punk and a lot of cyber to slightly less punk, and the cyber remains about the same. That's how I would explain it.
Yeah. So basically, you can have the cyber without the punk, I guess.
Yeah, yes. At that point, if you remove all the punk, it's not cyberpunk, and we all agree. But you can have different proportions. Let us say.
Okay. Uh, did you feel like what did you guys think of the pacing? So like, earlier we talked about how like, suddenly like the author decided like to have like this motorball thing, uh sports arc um
And
tournament
we are
thing.
having music arc, sports arc, politics arc. We are having everything in here.
Well, I mean, I'll just say it seems a bit off-putting at first, but at the same time, it's kind of good to kind of experiment with different. I don't
Mhm.
know if it's genres, perhaps, with different like ideas. So it's kind of good to say, what would happen in this universe if I don't know, Alita became a DJ and performed music. you know.
Mm. but
I
but but I
mean,
guess.
yeah,
Yeah, go on.
go on. I'm sorry.
I guess, um like, did you feel like the author did like a good job of like taking you like from one thing to the other, or was it like, um okay, now this happened suddenly, oh um what, because I kind of feel like, I don't know if you have read another kind of cyberpunk. It's more like space opera-ish series called manga series called Outlanders. um
Yeah, no, I don't know that.
no. Basically, um the heroine is like, the violent daughter of, basically a demon lord from another planet, and she
Mhm.
just ends up falling in love with, um while basically just randomly killing people. She just ends up falling in love with, the protagonist, and yeah, the
Okay.
the earth ends up getting destroyed as well, and a lot of characters end up dying, and everything like happens like really, really, really fast. There's a lot of like big reveals. um um
It
like
feels a bit like someone told this guy, the author, that his stories were slow paced. So he said, you want fast paced, I'll give you fast fucking pace. It sounds
yeah,
a bit like that, in this story.
like for example, there are some like time skips in Alita, right?
Yeah.
Um, and but but things like the peaceful times do not really last. Let's put it that way.
No.
Uh, but or at least they don't last as much in the way that they're portrayed as much as they do in the story. So
Mhm.
the story like will cut right up to after the
Yeah.
motorball thing. Alita comes back to Edo,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they spend some time together, but then it immediately like goes into like, oh, Edo Edo is reduced to like basically a severed head. uh, um and then no, it's suddenly revealed that the Zalamites, they don't have they don't have brains, and I don't know, like and I guess it's kind of maybe made worse a bit for me because um like I don't know if it's a bad thing though, like you're uh, like the whole manga is centered around like one perspective as well,
Mm.
for the most part. Or like maybe like a few chapters later, like you will see like what happened to the other characters very
Yeah.
briefly.
Yeah. Yeah. That is
uh,
something he does. He's most often based on Alita's perspective, and sometimes he will show you the other guys what have been doing because we haven't seen them in a while. You know?
yeah, so a lot of things happen very quickly.
Mhm.
Did that did it bother you at all, or was
I
that
would
fine?
say that in Alita there is decades in which weeks happen, and weeks in which decades happen altogether. Like, for
Mm.
instance, it is implied that Ido and Alita passed several years together when she was, still being a bounty hunter and so on and so forth, and that she slowly started to begin and become more independent from him and so on and so forth. And then there is the whole mess with Hugo and the other guys and so on and so forth. And then she goes pod racing, and the interval between these things apparently is several years every time. So yes, of course it is presented to you and everything happens very fast, but in you technically you have to think about you have to keep in mind the time skips about what exactly is that to understand the dynamics, let us say. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's so in particularly in the first part, it's not handled particularly well, perhaps because it was one of the author's first major works, as far as I know. But
But
yeah,
it gets better, you think?
yeah, I think it gets better. Yeah, and it's very easy to get better about this in La Little Store. They are all in Jeru and they are all having a fighting tournament. It's going to last. It's going to last a few weeks. We are going to tie all the the plot points that we had hanging from the last time and so on and so forth. So yeah,
Uh,
obviously, Last Order serves us to put everything together back again and make you understand exactly more or less how much time she passed, for instance, with Figure 4 and so on and so forth.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think. I mean, I think it doesn't flow that badly. Probably also because it's just
Mhm.
about one character.
Mhm.
I don't know if you have watched Kaiju number 8. Probably the worst when it comes to this, where like one battle is like drawn out like forever because because they need to show like what every side character is doing in that battle.
Ah, yeah, okay, yeah.
Whereas I don't see it here, at least not in the original series. I'm not sure about how they handle the tournament arc in Last Order. It's been, I can't remember now.
Mhm.
But the whole series is basically this tournament arc, if I'm not mistaken. um yeah. Speaking of Ido's character, so does he also end up becoming irrelevant later on, like in Last Order?
You could argue he becomes irrelevant, but he's never far from Alita's daughter. Over all the course of Last Order, every few chapters, you have Alita reminiscing about the past, basically, for a bit. Not for too long, because it's going to get boring, but the author very much wants you to remember, actually, you remember all the shit that happens in the first series. This happened, right? We are not straying away from the story and so on and so forth. I only edited that one part at the very end of the first series to change it for the better in the beginning of Alita Last Order. Everything else happened. Figure 4 is around, Ido is around, and so on and so forth. And this is shown to us by Alita being a cinnamon roll in the end of the in the end of days, remembering about the various people she has known and she loves, and thinking, I wonder what they are doing now. I wonder what Ido will say about this bullshit monster, nanomachine monster that takes corpses and makes bullets out of them, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, because I feel like at least in the original series, like Ido is like kind of like kind of a moral center
Yes, absolutely.
for Alita, because like I don't know her backstory yet because I haven't written Mars Chronicles, but it kind of sounds like the reason why Alita kind of becomes like a good person is partially after Amnesia, is partially because of her relationship with Ido as
Absolutely.
well. Um, and also, I guess maybe I would be going too far to put it that way, but they're sort of like um kind of, he's kind of a damsel in distress kind of character.
Yeah, sometimes he is, Sometimes that happens because after all, if you have a strong, this is one funny thing of having a strong female character in, as your protagonist. That the damsel in distress often ends up being the man,
Yeah.
unless you have lesbians. Then you can have a.
Yeah. But I guess um I wonder if it's still different though than if it had been like a normal damsel in distress kind of situation, because
Ido is
or
pretty
not.
badass on his own, to be honest.
Yeah.
They have to put their mind whammy on him several times just to make the dynamic work. Basically, they have to edit his memories and so on and so forth, so that he will still be. He will still be Ido. Ido goes. I shall remind you, goes around with a reaction hammer to
Yeah.
demolish people.
Yeah.
It's not defenseless. You know what I mean?
Have you read any of the side stories of Alita?
Several have been published together with Last Order, I think, in that edition that I've got physically. So yeah, some of them, but I don't know. I don't know how many there are, to be honest. So I'm not sure.
Have you read the one where Ido finds amnesiac girl, um, a, an amnesiac little girl, and like, oh, I don't know if it's like chapter 0 on
Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah. I must have read it years and years
yeah,
ago. I don't remember it clearly.
yeah. It was pretty tragic little story. Um, yeah, I'm not good at recounting stories, so but it's kind of implied that it happened. It might have happened like before
Mm.
Ido came across um, Alita, and I guess it kind of explains how Ido became a bounty hunter.
Mm.
It, yeah, I don't think did they explain why Ido was kicked out of Salem.
I think it was like I don't remember honestly. It must be have been explained again in the beginning of the Last Order and probably somewhere by the near the end of the original series. Probably he researched something he shouldn't have researched and they kicked him out. You know, like they often do in Star.
Yeah. The reason why, because I'm saying it is because in that I guess kind of prequelish side story, he comes across another Zalamite,
Mhm.
um, and I guess including Destinova, that would make like three of them in the in the scrapyard.
That we
There's not,
know.
yeah, that we know of. Yeah, um, yeah. I mean, in the um in the original ending again, they try to like throw out Low, the girl
Yeah, yeah.
uh, who helps uh, 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 coordinate, I guess, attacks, from Zalim.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, I guess maybe they throw down Zalimites from but then they would just end up dead if they did that. Um, yeah, at least that's what's implied in the original ending. But again, it was a rushed ending.
I
So
suppose it depends. Like some
yeah,
people get exiled and they send them down with the cables. Other people are fuck you and they kick them back out from the balcony or something.
yeah. I don't think I don't know. Either would have survived. Just being.
Yeah, I
Uh,
suppose. I suppose no.
um, yeah, the reason why again, that was another thing. That scene was another thing which reminded me of Gachiakuta, because it starts with at the end of the um, uh, first episode. The protagonist ends up getting thrown from the upper world
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
sky to the ground, to the wasteland.
Do they actually throw them down in there?
Yeah. They
Based.
call it the pit. They call it the pit, and yeah, they throw them down. It's not exactly analogous to the situation in Alita, because so the upper world itself is also divided between like the stereotypical utopia where there's something going wrong, and
Mhm.
also the other half, which is that's literally like a wall, and the other half, they are like the people who are like the descendants of criminals,
Mhm.
and they live in much poorer conditions. And the pit, and there's a pit, there's like a um where like they drop people,
Mhm.
where like everyone can see if they do any crimes, any serious crimes,
Okay.
basically. And
You have
but
a panopticon situation in which you have no real privacy, basically.
yeah. um okay, so anything else uh you want to discuss about Alita?
just wanted to say one thing. Like in defense of Last Order, one last thing is that it is very episodic, but in being very episodic, it has a lot of interesting characters that are presented in there. They show up for very little time, actually, but contribute a lot to to making the story interesting and so far and so on and so forth. And it's a bit. It is fair to say that the whole of Alita Last Order is a one big tournament arc and so on and so forth. But it's also a lot like that time in which Alita is around outside of the Scrapyard City doing Salem's missions and so on and so forth. In that she meets different people. In this case, in the context of tournament, of course. In there, she was traveling around, and it's the same kind of situation and exploration of human nature, if you want it, because there's everyone in the freaking solar system is crazy, all right? And we are going to see exactly how.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting and a good addition to the franchise in that.
Yeah, it's cyberpunk, but in space, I guess. Also, I guess I didn't mention how I came across Alita. So I came across it because the anime snob, who's also a Last Order defender.
I never would have guessed that I would have something in common with the anime snob, but the day has come in which I discover.
Yeah, I mean, he has like a couple of retro manga which he always recommends. I don't know if I guess Alita counts sort of as retro. It's 90s, not 80s.
It's 90s. It's not. Let's not be boomers and say the PS2 is not retro gaming. It's only from 2000.
Yeah, it's not
retro gaming.
It's not the 70s, therefore it can't be retro after all.
Yeah, but he has a couple of manga which he always recommends as like this is basically like all manga should be. So and one of them is Battle Angel Alita. Another one is Endless. Aiden. It's an endless world, which is again like from what I've heard, it's again like another cyberpunk thing where like
I've actually read it. It's more or less just imagine if Ghost in the Shell was in a post-apocalyptic world. That's the best way to describe it, with Nazism themes.
Yeah, and I've heard like a lot of the characters end up like taken out by sniper shots or something, headshots.
Well, yeah, because the world itself is very dangerous. A lot of the characters fucking die. So, just imagine, or better yet, just imagine Ghost in the Shell in Sao Paulo.
I guess Alita is also like post-apocalyptic cyberpunk kind of.
It's just apocalypse happened so much time ago that by now, it's only really post-apocalyptic outside of the Scrapyard City. Scrapyard City is pure cyberpunk, you would say. But outside, you can say that humanity never fully recovered from all of that. And so you still have tribes and so on and so forth.
I guess what makes it a bit different for me at least is that there's no like corporations. There's Salem, but I feel like they're like a lot more removed. Like
I guess that in Salem you would have corporations that buy to ridiculous prices for them, of course, the resources from the various places on Earth and gather them and make the products from the base resources and then so the scraps down to the Scrapyard City, I guess.
Is there like did they give any explanation for all the the German name naming stuff going on.
You
Oh,
see, this is interesting. The Japanese are werehabus secretly. I discovered recently that since then, since when they started. Oh, the dog is having a moment.
it's all right.
Basically, nothing. I think I chuck it down to Japanese being wearables. And
Yeah, fair
I
enough.
never explored too much why, but I see it every now and again that when they have to make, to give something an exotic name, they either give it a German name or sometimes, to warm my heart, an Italian name, which is very funny.
um, yeah, I thought like maybe it had something to do with the colonizers being sent on Mars, maybe being German. But then
Perhaps
again,
they appear to be, at least some of them, ethnically German in mass on origin. But we
yeah,
don't know because,
yeah, and but then again, Alita's original name I think is Yoko, right? Which is a
yeah.
Japanese name. Um,
I
so
suppose we will learn the details by when Martian Chronicles will be done.
yeah, it's done. I think it's complete. Uh,
Yeah, so then I still have to start reading it. Okay.
yeah, it's complete. But as I said, the mangaka is saying that they want to start yet another
Wait.
series.
I thought he was still doing, he was still in the finishing Martian Chronicles. So now I can read Martian Chronicles and wait for the fourth one. And nobody
Yeah,
spoiled me because I want to discover on my own if I'm right about being aliens in the fourth one.
yeah. Um, yeah. I mean, there's so much weird stuff going on, but no aliens yet. Um, so,
It's all in the solar system up now. They foreshadowed there could be aliens a few times, but
it, it's not a it's not a fair competition if you include Alita. So um, excluding Alita, who is best girl?
explicitly excluding Alita, you have to go with Destinova's girlfriend, the one who is killed very quickly, who's an hedonist, and she has no cybernetic implants, and fights with high pressure jets of water that can cut steel and so on and so forth. That girl in there, I don't remember her name, but she was based, and I think she was at least a 7.5, if not an 8, in the waifu on the waifu detector.
Yeah, we don't know who Chaos's mother was, do we?
No, I think not. I don't
No.
think she's dead because she was very young. But then again, we don't know the real age of people because they could all be cyborgs or made immortal with nanomachines. So
Yeah. We don't even know like
perhaps
if
Guido is 300 years old. It could be. We don't know.
yeah, we don't know how long Destinova has been there.
Destinova only hunting his clones when he starts taking over Salem with with the Karmatrons, has died a few thousand times, and and he doesn't care. So
Yeah. Um. It's a hard one, even though I asked the question. Hmm. I guess low. The girl up. I mean,
oh
I think
yeah, she's
yeah.
a
The
cute girl.
problem. Yeah, she's a, the thing is, there's not much going on with a lot of the other female characters, really. um, like all of the people that Arita ends up fighting for the most part ends up the major antagonists end up being male. Um,
Most, yeah.
yeah, most of the characters.
You know, was also waifu. In last story, the bodyguard of the Queen of Mars. She's
I
also
can't
waifu.
remember. Okay.
I can't remember the name either. I've read it some time ago, but she's also pretty waifu.
Yeah. Who else is there? Koyami's just a brat.
You know, that could be someone's tasties, though.
It could be, yeah. I guess there are some Joshuan's sister. I can't remember the name though.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't
She look,
remember that very,
yeah,
very well, but I know what you mean.
yeah. I mean, somebody on the survey, I think it was Bref, shared this article from Gwen.net.
Mhm.
It's the website which translated all of the Notenkimo memoirs which you talked about on this
Mhm.
channel, about the early days of Guidance. But basically, he has some articles of his own as well. The owner of that website, and one of them is about Alita, and it was kind of complaining about how like um uh so like the author is a feminist, so he was kind of like complaining how like he didn't really think that Alita was like a feminist manga or character, because
Mhm.
Alita fills in, like, she wears so many hats, she plays so many
Mhm.
roles, that the fact that she's female doesn't really matter. And also that um, you know most of the other important characters are not, they don't do anything. So
Yeah.
it's just Alita, in terms of female characters who do anything.
No, I would call that first strong female character, but I wouldn't call the general manga, the general story as a feminist one in broad strokes, because first of all, feminism as is understood in the West is very anti-traditional femininity, and Alita, despite the fact that she can absolutely murder anyone she desires, she wishes to murder, is also a very feminine character. Is in many ways. I don't have to remind you the various times she gushes thinking back about people, okay, and so on and so forth. She's also a very sensitive young girl, and so on and so forth. So she's a very feminine character that wouldn't fit with the modern idea of feminism, I would say. So
Mm.
yeah.
I guess like there's a bit of that first arc where like Ido,
Mhm.
um, like she kind of accuses Ido of like wanting to treat her as like a dress up doll or
Yeah,
something.
that a bit. There's a bit of that in there, but it goes beyond that so quickly because she's a badass. You can't really argue with that, you know.
Yeah, yeah, um, yeah, um, yeah, and I guess you can kind of get into the discussion about like what counts as traditional as well. Maybe if you are being very specific.
I mean, Amazon warriors are traditional. They are
Yeah,
straight from Greek meat. You don't get more traditional than that. Of course, there's still women because tradition is the idea, still the idea of being rooted in human nature. So a woman can fight if you train there, but she remains a woman in a psyche, and that will mean that she will approach the issues and so on and so forth in a different way than a man. That is, of course,
mm,
up to that. The problem is that today people want to say, no, I can decide to be a woman. you know?
yeah, yeah. I mean, do you think like that there's any major decisions which Alita makes which are painted by the fact that she's a woman at all?
Well, there is the whole idea about saving Lou and resurrecting her from the mainframe of the Salem's computer. That is very nurturing, very big sister wants. I want my little sister back, and so on and so forth. there is the whole arc in which she's gushing behind figure four, of course, because but there is the sheer cope when it's a very feminine way to do it when when Hugo dies and she goes out, as we have explored before in this very video, coping and pod racing about it. You could say that it's not very feminine to start pod racing in particular about it, but she's clearly emotionally distressed and she's doing something, to divert, which can be a female, which can be a very female behavior, although men can also do that, and I think less often, but
Yeah, I guess
I
like
can think several times in which the fact that she's a woman impacts behavior. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Do you have I guess a best girl Albania man?
Mm, not really, although the I don't remember her name. I remember the one girl that was fighting against that her brother happens to be the rival of Alita, happens to be pretty cute. So there's
Oh, yeah.
that.
I think
Uh,
about it. This manga is full of cute girls. To be honest, they are not, very focused on most of the time. I think.
yeah, I think he doesn't go as far as Masamune Shiro, but yeah. um who if you have read Ghost in the Shell, basically goes into like full lesbian scenes basically. um yeah, I mean I guess in terms of nudity there's like a panel or two, but that's about it really. And
Yeah,
it's
the nudity is very limited in here.
yeah, obviously it can't involve Alita uh herself.
We don't know what they are doing in there. They could have a functioning artificial uterus. I don't know. I think not, because they're still angsting about it.
um all right then. How would you rate Battle Angel Alita?
Freaking 9, because it's part of my childhood, and because let's see. Basically, you could say sometimes something you liked a lot when you were a kid grows with disappointing you in the long term. When, for instance, I could have been disappointed by that story and so on and so forth. This hasn't happened with Alita. Like, I liked it a lot when I was a kid and was structural about my coming into becoming a freaking nerd, probably. And growing up, I would say, yeah, okay, it's a lot sillier than I remember some parts of it, but I'm not exactly disappointed in it. So yeah, I would say a solid 9, and I think it's the highest evaluation I ever gave in our conversation.
Yeah, I would give it an 8,
Mhm.
because I feel like to go to a 9, I would like have to have like a satisfying ending.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's a very hard thing to do in a long series like
Yeah.
this.
That is
Um,
true.
like for example, I would give like a Gunbuster a 9, even though
Yeah.
it's short, because of it has a good ending, and like let's forget about Diebuster.
Yeah, let's
uh,
ignore that they ever did that. Yes.
Well,
uh,
just
I,
amount to this just got new Gynex just being not very good, aka Studio Trigger.
Hmm.
um, I mean, I guess also I can't. I also I not have like this story isn't over yet. It's not finished
Mhm.
yet. I don't feel like Alita is finished yet.
It
At least
says
not.
it has a whole fourth part. Even I that it's super fun and everything. I'm still back to the end of the second part. So, you know, probably is going to, at this point, I think we can, I think I can trust he will pull things somewhat together by the end. I think if he really means to have 4 whole parts about this, the fourth part is where we will have the satisfying ending. I hope. Or we could have the aliens because he has no more ideas. Again, we could be back to that.
Yeah, basically, I feel like if it's like a big ending which is memorable, I don't know, like then that would be good. But if it's just, I don't know, Alita now settles down and opens a farm.
That will be based in its own way.
Yeah, it would be based, but it was like kind of feel like why didn't they do that earlier earlier on?
Alita Mandy's figure 4 becomes that wife. Best fan service ever. Will buy the shit out of it.
Yeah. It would be good.
Makes
Good
8
service.
children, 8.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, I wouldn't put it past it ending that way a bit. But we'll see. We'll see. Did I ask Albania Man's rating?
Well, I haven't finished it yet, but so far I would say between I guess 7.5. I haven't finished quite yet. So far I'm enjoying it, although I wouldn't say, oh my god, it's the best thing ever type of enjoyment, if you know what I mean.
I admit that I give it 9 because it's literally my first waifu in my life, which I discovered when I was 10. Probably, if I were to be objective, I would say 8 too, because we would be more or less in accordance around 7.5, 8, and so on and so forth. But I don't want to be objective because she's my wife. Okay.
Understandable. Therefore, students, you have to give Fox those posters you found. You have to give it to him right now.
I just found some wallpapers. While I was looking for an actually readable scans of the manga, I came across some nice wallpapers. One of which I've used as the image you can see.
I saw the wedding dress. I was afraid it was something about the incoming material, but okay. Afraid or allured, I don't know. Depends.
Yeah. I would say that like in the past, I would have recommended this to anyone as like a great manga. But like, I don't know, like, would you like I guess it's I feel like it's a good manga for someone getting into anime and manga. Basically. And but is it one of the best ones?
To introduce someone to mangas, I don't know if it's the best one to introduce someone to manga specifically. It worked for me because of the context of what was happening. Back then I was 10, that it was this, in the middle, in the summer, near my vacation home and so on and so forth. We were having comics, and they said, look up the comics, there's new stuff in there. And I see this cyborg girl and I say, fucking go. And I'm just starting to develop feelings about this. And this
to someone young. I think it would be good to someone young, basically. Yes, to young boys, basically.
It is, it is not really that deep, but it has the appearance of being deep enough that if you are 12 or 13 or 14, it appears a lot deeper than it is. And it can be a good, introduction to other things. This, yes, of course.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, so I wouldn't like recommend it to a girl though. I don't think. Probably
I don't know. I think she would
depends. It depends. Okay.
depend on the girl. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like I don't know if they're like the typical girl who is like into more a romance comedy kind of stuff. I certainly wouldn't. I guess. Um. Yeah, I think.
If you have a mystical tomboy childhood friend, that was she
Yeah.
will probably love that.
Mm-hmm. Um. Yeah. All right then. I think. Um. I think that's it. That's enough for today. What do you
Yeah.
guys think?
Yeah, I think we have
Yeah,
wrapped it up more or less.
yeah, we've said what we need to say.
Yeah. We said what we meant to say.
Yeah.
Perhaps we could have, if we actually read it, I will read at this point Martian Chronicles since it's over, so now I can read it. If you guys also read it, we could have a part two in a few months, probably, when we talk
Yeah.
about specifically Martian Chronicles.
Yeah, I'm going to like reread Last Order and Mars Chronicles. So I would
Yeah.
I would probably be totally up for that.
Well, I'll
Um,
probably just continue with the original series, Last Order, and Martian Chronicles, because I still haven't finished the original series yet.
yeah,
I'll
I
continue.
wouldn't I
Don't
wouldn't
worry,
talk.
take your time.
Yeah, I wouldn't talk just about Last Order though because it's a tournament arc. Um, so
If
yeah,
we start getting serious about Last Order, there's a lot of stuff we could talk about in there. Because there's actively a lot of things happen in that freaking tournament arc, people slept on that because they say that they say that how long is this tournament going to freaking last? But in real time it was a few weeks, and shit hits the fan in those few.
yeah, and I mean I feel like in some cases um even though it's not very good, um there can
Mhm.
be a lot to talk about,
Yeah.
at least for me, in terms of world building. For
Mhm.
example, that DRS the DS manga thing,
Well,
I ended up having a bit to say about it,
mhm.
about its world building, even though it wasn't really that well written.
Yeah,
um
it can be a lot very interesting talking about this aspect of something, even if one didn't quite like the full writing and stuff like that, or if it wasn't realized very well. Like for instance, the typical need. It's about stuff like Asterix Wars and so on and so forth do that at the time did some world building, but didn't really show you the effects and so on and so forth. And to be honest, talking about bullshit like that and what I would have done instead, it's very funny.
Is there ever a time though when like you watched something you thought that was good, but you didn't think that it would make like there would be that much to talk about it?
Mm. Yeah, I have to think about it, to be honest. But
Mm.
probably a few.
I suppose another thing we can talk about next. I've got a few ideas. I guess one, I don't know if either of you would be interested in this. Probably either The Mask or other series that I would be interested to talk about. And I would say that's a decent amount of things to say would probably be homunculus.
Mm.
Or the manga? Okay.
Yes, the manga. I absolutely love the manga homunculus.
Yeah, it's very based. I love it too.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind rereading it. Again, another snob recommendation. Nothing should end up reading because of snob. That's the thing.
Time
That's
is a
the thing with him.
concern,
Like he doesn't have bad taste. He just hates everything which is not He
I,
stays a guy.
I'll kind of disagree with that. He doesn't have bad taste in anime or manga. When it comes to TV shows, well, I couldn't disagree further. Gonna be honest.
Why? What did he recommend in terms of
Okay.
TV?
Oh, well, the thing that made me cringe is when he. Well, I didn't do a review, but he had like a Excel document, and one of them was, oh, he didn't recommend The Sopranos because he said, oh, I prefer Goodfellas. It just made me cringe.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I haven't watched The Sopranos, but like, I think last week, these algorithms, I ended up like spending the whole night just watching clips from The Sopranos. Yeah.
It's a big feel when the algorithm fishes you for this stuff, you know.
Honestly, The
Yeah.
Sopranos is very quotable. It's the most
Yeah.
quotable TV show in the planet.
Where are the Romans now? You're talking with them, asshole.
Yeah.
I love them. Of course, I would love that scene. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like the clips made it seemed like a lot more messed up than I thought it would be.
Well, I mean, what would you expect it to show about the American mafia? Of course, it would be pretty messed up.
No, but I guess because from what I'd heard, it was more like they were kind of making fun of them. But yeah, but they do like seriously just kill people left and right. So yeah.
Yeah, they do make fun of them because they sometimes end up in in pretty ridiculous situations. But it's not that doesn't mean that they don't freaking kill people, you know. It doesn't mean that the fact in which they are mafiosos is not a joke.
All right, we're kind of going off topic, so I'm ending the
Okay,
recording.
it's about time we wrap this up.
Yeah. So go read Alita if you haven't, obviously.
Yeah.
To anyone watching this until now.
Okay.